Hello friends, welcome to today's Serene Stability Yoga class. When you're ready, find yourself a comfortable seated position, maybe crossing the legs, affording yourself space to settle into the body. Allow the shoulders to drop down away from your ears. And begin to tune into the breath. And when you're ready, we will get started facing the short edge of the mat. We are going to roll down onto our backs and we will come into Shavasana, corpse pose, extending the limbs out long. You might like to rest the palms facing skywards or have them connected to the earth. It's entirely up to you. Really feel your connection to this moment, to Mother Earth. And when you're ready, we'll flex our right knee, drawing our right knee to our chest, interlacing the fingers around the shin. You might like to roll out the ankle once or twice, moving in one direction and the other. And either staying here or mindfully guiding the right knee to the left side as we extend our right arm out at shoulder height, maybe gazing towards the right fingertips. And being mindful to ensure that both shoulders stay grounded to the surface beneath you. This is a wonderful posture to create space and mobilize stagnant energy in the lower to mid back. Returning to center, we'll take the stretch on the other side, coming into wind relieving posture, Pawamuktanasana. Maybe rolling out the left foot one way and the other. And be mindful to keep the right leg, the leg that's extended, engaged, foot is flexed. And maybe coming into a spinal twist. This is a great posture to begin or end your day. Really allowing us to move in various planes than we otherwise would throughout our daily activities. One more breath. Returning to center, draw both the knees towards the chest and lower the feet down onto the mat, close to the sits bones. Knees are hip width distance apart, and we'll raise up into a bridge pose. Small and controlled movements, raising the hips, the lower back, the mid-back, squeezing the glutes at the top, and mindfully lowering down one vertebra at a time. A few more times like this. Being mindful to ground down through the heels of the feet. We'll keep our hips raised in bridge and begin to float our heels up off the mat, lowering down with control and lifting them back up, grounding down through the balls of the feet, squeezing the inner thighs together. Seeing if you can lift the pelvis a little higher. Small and controlled movements. And we'll stay up and hold for a moment. Breathe. And gently release, keeping the hips raised. We'll place our palms underneath the sacral region of our back, supporting our hips. And we are going to flex our right knee, extend our right leg skywards, flex the foot, and point the toes, working on keeping the hips squared. This is a wonderful posture to work on some unilateral mobility and strength, particularly in the hamstrings. And gently release. We'll get ready to go on the other side, keeping the hips raised, flexing the left knee, drawing it to the chest, extending the left leg, flexing the foot, and pointing the toes. Feel yourself growing taller through that left leg. 2 more breaths here. Softening the muscles of the face. Exhale, gently release, guiding the left heel back down to the mat, and we'll lower the hips down, coming down one vertebra at a time. From here, we'll take a rolling like a ball motion as we come up and transition into plank pose, grounding down through the palms, wrists are in line with shoulders, engaging the core. And we're going to come into some single leg plank lifts. So grounding down through the left leg, Navel is drawn towards the spine. On your next inhale, engage that left leg, ground down as we float the right leg up and lower it back down. Single movements, lift and lower, lift and lower. Being mindful to keep that leg extended, keep both hip points squared to the surface beneath you. Once more, and we'll take a moment in plank pose, getting ready to go on the other side, grounding down through the right leg as we float the left leg up. Really using the gluteus maximus to lift and elevate that entire leg. 2 more single leg lifts on this side, and we'll begin to lower the whole body down with control, grazing the arms towards the side body, hovering off the floor for a moment, and lowering down, pointing the toes, and we'll press up into Bhujangasana Cobra, broadening across the heart space. Exhale, lower down. Once more, grounding down through the tops of the feet, gazing up. Exhale, lower down. We're going to come into some posterior chain activation, placing one palm on top of the other, allowing your forehead to rest on the arms. Widen the feet towards the edges of the mat, keeping the legs extended. We're going to engage the glutes, engage the hamstrings, and we're going to inhale, float the legs up. Tap the heels together, widen the legs and lower down. Lift together, widen and down. Just like this, simple movements. Really being intentional to keep the forehead rested on the palms, on the hands. And although there is a minor amount of activation in the lower back, we really want to keep the awareness, the intentionality in our glutes, in the hamstrings. Keep going. Matching inhalations with exhalations, steady breath, steady focus. Can you lift those legs a little higher? Can you squeeze those glutes a little more? Yes, you can do this. From here, we're going to extend our arms out in front, palms facing towards each other, and lift our arms and our legs up off the ground. Finding length through the fingertips, through the tips of the toes, whilst engaging the back, the glutes, to help you lift up and away from the earth. Softening the muscles of the face, unclenching the jaw. One more breath, and gently release. You might like to stay with this Superman variation, or join us as we come into Dhanurasana Bow Pose. So flexing the knees, drawing the heels to the glutes, externally rotate the arms, to grab a hold of the medial edges of the feet. Shoulders are rolled back, broadening across the heart space. And in your inhale, we're going to raise the legs, the chest, as we lift up, creating a lovely back bend, a heart opener. Seeing if you can get those legs a little higher, whilst being mindful to keep the knees in line with the hips. The legs are not splaying out wide to the side. One more breath. Exhale, release with control, lower the knees down. Again, you might like to create a pillow with the arms to rest the forehead. And we'll come into Makarasana, crocodile pose, big toes together, heels out, finding a release in the lower back. And we'll push back into child's pose, Balasana, sinking the hips back towards the heels, big toes are touching, arms are extended out in front, maybe lowering the forehead down. Surrendering to this moment. Letting go. Staying in child's pose, we'll walk our fingertips over to the right off the edge of the mat, finding a lovely side body stretch along the left hand side. Two gradual breaths in this posture. Mindfully guiding yourself through center, and we'll take this variation of child's pose on the other side. Maybe placing the right palm on top of the left. Coming back to center, we'll come into a tabletop position, wrists are in line with shoulders, as we curl our chin towards our chest, puffing up through the back of the ribs, coming into cat pose, drawing the navel to the spine, really facilitating a greater release along the posterior chain. One breath, and we'll come into cow pose. Inhale, scoop the chest forward, and taking a few rounds of cat and cow, finding your own cadence, tuning into what feels good for you today. We'll take one more round and get set up for bird dog. Dandayamana Bhamanasana. Tucking the right toes under, extending the right leg back, engaging the glutes, floating the leg up to hip height. Foot is flexed, toes and knee are pointed to the surface beneath you. We'll flex the knee, drawing the heel to the glute, and come into tiger pose via Virabhadrasana. Externally rotating the left arm to grab a hold of that right foot. Slightly twisting the torso to the left, maybe gazing up. Again, finding a lovely heart opener, back bend. One breath here. Mindfully release. Option to take a round of cat and cow, and we'll get set up to go on the other side, extending the left leg back, keeping the hips squared, floating the left leg up, engaging the glutes, engaging the hamstrings. Either staying in this grounded variation of bird dog or coming into tiger pose, flexing the left knee, grabbing a hold of the left foot with the right hand, gazing up, lifting up and out of the lower back, keeping that left knee guided towards the midline, it's not splaying out to the side. One more breath. Exhale, gently release, and again taking a round of cat and cow. From here we'll walk our fingertips out in front, tuck the toes under and push up into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Finding length through the posterior chain. Arms are engaged, shoulders are rolled down away from the ears. Biceps are rolled in, triceps are rolled back. 2 gradual breaths in this posture. And we'll float up onto the balls of our feet and shift forward into plank pose. Exhale, push back to down dog, rolling like a wave, coming to plank and pushing back. Once more, moving with the rhythm of the breath. And again, articulating each movement, really engaging that core. We'll meet in down dog and get set up for 3-legged dog, floating the right leg up, externally rotating the hip, flexing the knee, drawing the heel to the glutes, Ikapada Adho Mukha Svanasana, shoulders stay squared, re-extend the leg, and tiger curl the knee forwards to the chest, gently lowering the foot down between the palms, lowering the back knee down, pointing the toes. Inhale, extend the arms overhead, maybe joining the palms together or finding Kali Mudra. Working on engaging the core and lifting up and out of the pelvic bowl. One more breath. From here we'll float the arms down to frame the front foot as we tuck the back toes, extend the leg up, coming into Crescent Lunge, Bhujangasana. Again, hips are squared, we're high on the ball of the back foot. You might like to extend the arms at shoulder width, reaching up through the fingertips, softening the face. Being mindful to keep that front knee, the right knee, in line with the ankle. And we'll come into a twisted lunge, rotating the torso to the right, extending the arms out wide at shoulder height. Expanding the fingertips, the palms out wide like rays of sunshine. Staying here, you might like to join us in a revolved peaceful warrior. Lowering the right arm onto the back leg, the left leg as we extend the left arm skywards, feeling a lovely deep stretch along the left psoas, the hip flexors. Seeing if you can sink a little deeper. And from here we'll pivot around, coming into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana. The back foot, the left leg, is relatively parallel with the short edge of the mat. Fingertips are level at shoulder height. You might like to gaze over the front fingers. Core is engaged and we have a slight posterior tilt of the pelvis so that we're not arching into the lower back. Coming into Sun Warrior, floating the left arm down the back leg, extending the right arm overhead. Exhale, we'll transition into a supported extended side angle. And again, flowing with the breath, transitioning into Sun Warrior, extending the left arm overhead. And shifting the torso forward as we lower the right elbow onto the right leg, extending the left arm overhead, keeping that core engaged. Once more, finding your rhythm, maybe inviting a smile across the face. One more breath and we'll lower into Skundasana, side lunge, flexing the right knee, lowering down onto that right foot. Left leg is extended, grounding down through the heel. The toes and the kneecap of the left leg are facing skywards. You might like to extend the arms out wide like bird wings, maybe finding a bind, interlacing the fingers together behind that right leg, seeing if you can twist a little more into that left shoulder. One breath, extending the arms out wide at shoulder height. Will stay low and transition into Skundasana on the other side. This time the right leg is extended, maybe staying in Namaskar Mudra. And if this pose isn't accessible for you, you might like to place a block underneath your sits bones, or you might like to stay higher up so that you're closer to a positioning of Warrior Two. Finding a bind if you like, broadening across the heart space, letting go of any tension, any stress, recognizing that you are safe. And we'll pivot to face the back of our mat, framing the left foot, stepping the left leg back as we come into downward facing dog. If you're feeling slightly warmer, you might like to really ground the heels down into the mat, extending the hamstrings, stretching the calves. And we'll float our left leg up as we come into three-legged dog, externally rotate the hip. Mindfully draw the heel to the glute as we flex that knee, keeping the shoulders aligned. One breath here. Shifting our weight forward into the palms, we'll bend the knee, guiding it towards the chest, and mindfully lowering it down between the palms, lowering the right leg down, pointing the toes, extending the arms overhead as we come into a low crescent lunge, Bhujangasana. Squaring the hips, lifting up through the vertebral column, through the crown of the head, through the fingertips. Breathe. One more breath. Mindfully release the bind, frame the front foot, tuck the right toes under, extend the back leg as we lift up into Crescent Lunge. Squaring the hips, keeping that front knee in line with the ankle. Evenly distributing that weight across the left foot, staying high on the ball of the back foot. Using the pelvic floor to help you lift up and out of the lower back. Steady gaze. Steady focus. We'll rotate the torso to the left, extending the arms out wide, broadening across the fingers, the palms, as we come into a revolved variation of this posture. You might observe a deeper stretch along the right hip flexors. Mindfully tuning into the sensations of this moment. Either staying here or joining us in a revolved peaceful variation, guiding the left palm down that right leg, extending the right arm overhead, stretching deep into the right front of the body, the core, the hips, the leg. Maybe finding a mudra with those right fingers. One more breath. And we will pivot on that back foot as we transition into Warrior Two, finding any adjustments. You might like to heel toe the feet in slightly wider or closer together, remembering that you're never restricted to one posture. Modify it to suit your energy levels, your unique positioning, and just tune into what feels good. 2 more breaths in Warrior Two. From here, we'll extend the right arm, the back arm down the back leg, extending the left arm overhead, finding a lovely stretch. One breath here. And with control, transitioning forwards, shifting the weight into the torso as we lower the left arm down on that left leg, extending the right arm overhead, supported extended side angle. Taking 2 more rounds of this flow, making the movements as small or as large as you would like, finding ease, finding comfort. From extended side angle, we're going to ground down through that left leg, extending the leg, shifting the weight to the midline, heel toeing the feet together slightly as we come into a wide-legged stance. Inhale, extend the arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Placing the palms under the shoulders. Allowing the neck to rest, maybe finding a few nods and shakes, really allowing yourself to relieve any tension. And we'll tent up onto our fingertips, taking a twist, extending the right arm skywards, rotating the torso to the right, mindfully lowering the palm down and taking the twist on the other side. Doing your best to keep the hips squared, finding an even distribution of weight across both legs. And again, once more, finding a twist, maybe gazing up towards the fingertips, or if you feel any sensation along the neck, finding a neutral position or gazing down at the floor, it's up to you. Making it your own. Again, we'll meet in a forward fold. Bending the knees, grounding down through the lower body, the heels, as we raise up into goddess pose, Utthita Konasana. Finding eagle arms, allowing one arm to cross over the other, maybe finding a double bind, sinking those hips back, really working on engaging the core, and again finding a slight posterior tilt in the pelvis so that we're not overcompensating into the lower back. Engaging the pelvic floor, release the arm bind, and we'll begin to lift one heel off the mat at a time. You might like to keep the palms at heart center. Keep one heel up and pulse. Small movements. How low can you get those hips? Lower down and raise the other heel. Few more breaths, few more pulses. Gently release, extend the arms overhead, staying low, and we'll find eagle arms on the other side. Rolling the shoulder blades down away from the ears. Maybe a slight tuck of the chin, sinking those hips down a little more, breathing through any tension. One more breath, and release, extend the legs, heel toe the feet together, well done. Facing the short edge of the mat in Tadasana, inhale, extend the arms overhead. Find length, exhale, lower the palms to heart center. And again, float the arms overhead and we'll find a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, extend the legs, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Once more, finding your rhythm. And from here we'll stay in a fold, allowing the chest to melt onto the thighs, maybe finding a bind, interlacing the fingers together behind the head. Drawing the arms towards the earth, finding a lovely release in the shoulders, the upper back, as well as the lower back. And release, we'll find a fold. You might like to extend the legs, place the palms behind the calves, the Achilles. One breath here. And we'll place the palms on the floor, heel toeing the feet out, heels in, toes out, as we sink the hips down, coming into Malasana, garland's pose, or yogi squat. Again, this is a great opportunity to place a block or any prop under your sits bones if this isn't accessible to you. Otherwise, finding any position of your choice. One breath here, opening the hips. And we'll lower down onto our sits bones, coming into Navasana Bow Pose, raising the legs, extending the arms out towards the toes, palms facing together, broadening across the heart space, roll the shoulders back, lift up through the crown of the head, draw the core in, breathe. Maybe closing the eyes. Tune into that inner awareness, the inner guidance system. You've got this. One more breath. Gently release, lower the feet down. You might like to lower your forehead towards your knees, finding a stretch along the back of the body. When you're ready, we are going to roll down onto the mat, one vertebra at a time, mindfully guiding yourself down. Setting up for bridge pose, Setubandha Sarvangasana, grounding down through the heels, tilt the pelvis, peel the hips up, lifting up one vertebra at a time, squeezing the glutes at the top and lowering down with control. A few more rounds. Arms are extended, grounding down through the palms for support. Either staying in bridge or we'll use momentum as we lift up into shoulder stand, candlestick, Salamba Sarvangasana. Using the fingertips for support to press into the back, keeping the arms close to the body, elbows are in line with the shoulders, finding a throat lock, core is engaged, and we're really working on stacking the toes, the ankles, the knees, the hips, the chest, the shoulders in one line, seeing if you can relax the jaw. And either staying upright or we'll begin to hinge our legs towards the earth over our head as we come into Plow pose, Halasana. So grounding down through the toes, the balls of the feet, extending the legs. You might like to find a bind with the arms, extending them out long towards the opposite edge of the mat. This will help you find a counterbalance and really lift up and out of the shoulders, keeping the hips raised. This is a wonderful way to passively stretch the hamstrings, the calves. Settling in. And either staying here or we'll lower our knees down, flexing the knees on either side of the ears, coming into ear pressure pose. Resting on the tops of the feet. Really finding a stretch along the back of the neck, the spine. Mindfully attuning to any sensations you might be feeling in the body. We'll re-extend the legs and we'll take some single leg inverted lifts. So keeping one foot grounded, we will extend the other leg, keeping it in line with the hips, the torso, lower it down with control and go on the other side. Really engaging the glutes here to help you find that power to lift the leg. Again, this is a great option to find strength and length in the hamstrings. The whole body really. There's a lot going on here. Stay with it, stay focused. Taking one more leg lift on either side. And we will begin to mindfully release from the posture. So if you had the bind, release the palms to grab the outer hips, lower down with control, one vertebra at a time. And when you're on the mat, heel toe the feet to the edge of the mat, allowing the knees to rest together, creating space across the lumbar and sacral regions of the spine. Breathe. Staying here, or you might like to draw the knees to the chest, being mindful to keep the lower back in contact with the earth. You might like to find a small massage, gently rocking the hips side to side, interlacing the fingers around the shins. Maybe creating some circular motions, finding any organic movement that's suitable to you today. And we'll come into Ananda-balasana, happy baby, interlacing the fingers around the outer edges of the feet. Perhaps extending one leg out at a time or keeping the knees drawn towards the armpits. It's up to you. Again, this is a great way to passively stretch the hamstrings. You might like to extend both legs out together. Gently releasing, lowering the feet down onto the mat. From here, we'll set up for a supine spinal twist. We'll come into it as though we're going into Supta Kapotasana, supine pigeon pose, placing the lateral edge of the left foot on top of the right thigh, and then we'll lower that left foot down to the right with the knee, being mindful to keep that knee raised. You might like to cactus the arms out wide, keeping the shoulders grounded, gazing towards the left. This is a great release for the lower back, the mid back. You might even feel it in the outer hips, the IT band. One more breath. Mindfully coming to center, uncrossing the legs, and we'll take the stretch on the other side, placing the right foot on top of the left leg and guiding that right foot down to the left, lowering the right knee, keeping the shoulders grounded, gazing over that right shoulder. Listen to the body. Two breaths here. Mindfully returning to center, and we'll take Shavasana to close practice, extending the legs out long, lowering the arms down by your sides, palms facing skywards, closing the eyes, tuning into the breath. If there are any regions of the body where you are feeling sensation, tension, energy, mindfully send the breath there. Send a notion of loving compassion to yourself, to the body. Recognizing your efforts for nourishing the mind, the soul. Staying in Shavasana for as long as you like. And when you're ready, find some small movements. Roll over to one side into fetal position, keeping the eyes closed. Coming up to a seated position, maybe crossing the legs. Roll the shoulders back. We'll take 3 cleansing breaths to close practice. Inhaling through the nostrils. Exhaling through the mouth. Thank you all so much for today. I hope you have a beautiful day. Namaste.